wanted to introduce myself. My name's Dan. I'm going to be starting a new YouTube channel called DriverMods. I want to really focus on driving a car and modifying for effect. So keeping the car a daily driver and really focusing on mods that matter. Budget oriented stuff and comfort stuff, and just keeping the car a good daily driver, not a weekend warrior, not something that just gets trailered to the track. So with that, first video I'm going to be posting is a dyno video of my car. A little bit of a background on it. It's a 96 Cobra. It's a Mystic car. It has a 2012 crate motor. It has a Department of Boost TVS setup with a Trinity 2.3 liter on it. It's running a 325 pulley, or like an 82 millimeter, running 9 pounds of boost. Full swap headers, 3-inch exhaust all the way out. It's got a T56 behind it and 4:10 gear ratio. So basic rundown of the car. It's been my daily driver for the last 8 years. I did the swap back in 2012. The NA times ranged from 1130s to 1170s depending on the track that I was at. The supercharger times are in the 1090s at this point. We were fighting IAT issues, so if that's one of the mods that I'll go over with in a different video, but I upgraded the heat exchanger to a 13 GT500 heat exchanger and pump. That'll be another video that I'll post afterwards, kind of going into the details of installing that. But I just wanted to kind of start the video out with introduction of the car that I drive, and kind of go over the dyno video that I'll post right after this. Thanks, guys. Alright, so looking at the graph, it made 574. The boost was kind of ramped in a little slow, so that's why we kind of have this graph to kind of show you where the boost was. It made 9.1 at 7,200 RPMs and about 570 horse. Alrighty, so those numbers were, sometimes you kind of look at numbers and you get a little disappointed, but the main thing to understand about dynos is they're definitely a tuning tool. Nobody should ever take them to heart. I try to tell people that, but the main thing to think about is depending on where you're at in the country or what dynameter that you're going to or who's calibrating it, they're all going to read differently. This was a Dynomite dynameter. The reason why I went is it was $75 for 3 pulls. That's the important thing, is getting on a dyno for cheap and being able to get the data logs, which is super important, and the boost meters, the air fuel ratio sensor, all 3 of those were all in there. You also get a nice understanding of what your car's doing under load. It's super important, and the other important thing is it's not going to get you a ticket trying to do it on the street, which that's another story. But going over it, the main things I want to touch on is it made 576 on the first run, 565 on the next run, and 560 on the third run. So indicative of supercharger cars, you're going to lose a little bit of run. We did about a 5-minute break in between runs, so the IATs actually did pretty well. I've got a lot of data logging on it, so what we were seeing is they would fall down to about 107, 109, and that's where we started at IAT range, Fahrenheit. At the end of the run, they were around 123, 125, so an 18-degree jump each run was consistent. So that's what I'm looking for, is the consistency in the heat raising and lowering. So in a track situation, if you're running on the highway, wherever you decide to race, that's super important with a supercharged vehicle, is keeping your IATs in check. So with that, I'm pretty sure that I've solved my IAT issue, and I'm excited to get back to the track. The other thing that I wanted to go over on the dyno graph is the fact that the air-fuel ratio I kind of knew based on Lambda and commanded air-fuel ratio within the data logs. SCT Live is great for monitoring that type of stuff. They're very, very close throughout the run. So whatever it's commanding, it's getting it all the way up to 7,800 RPM. The car does run on E85. I'm in California, I don't mess around with 91, and neither should you. 91 is dumb. If you're running a boosted vehicle and you're trying to make it work on 91 and you're not doing meth or some crazy octane booster, you're gonna get knocked and you'll blow your shit up. I mean, tuners try to make it work, but it's frustrating for them too. Technology allows us to kind of get away with it, but there's only so much you can do with 91. And California 91 is even shittier than regular 91. So E85 if you can, if not, octane booster. Okay, so the other thing that's really important about this graph and kind of looking at it is the torque. The torque is good, a nice smooth curve. The other thing to look at is it makes peak power around 7,400 RPM, but it carries it all the way up to 7,800, not losing more than 5 to 6 horsepower in between the RPMs. So that's similar to what we see on the NA vehicles with the Cobra Jet setups, is you make your peak power, but it carries it. It has usable power, and it doesn't fall off until about 7,900 RPM. So that means the lower manifold that I'm using, the blower, everything, the whole setup is not getting choked up top. The exhaust is doing what it's supposed to. So that's a good indicator on the dyno that you can kind of gain from looking at it. The other thing that's really important that I got off this was the boost. So typically a boost gauge, some vehicles you can actually see boost within the SCT. This one's a swap car, so you can't really see it. I have a boost gauge, but some of those it's kind of like dynos. One will show 1 pound of boost difference from the other. It doesn't. So having a calibrated tool at the dyno is a very good way to get kind of a standard. I was very surprised that it was about 1 pound lower than I thought it was. Now I did hit 10 pounds at 7,800 RPM. However, the usable amount of pounds was 7,000 to 7,800 RPMs. It was in the 9 pound range. Now, the other interesting thing about the graph is the ramp in. I talked to a very good person that I'll talk about in another video. Very good experience that I'm working on, a little project on the side that I'll have another dyno video for, with redesigning the pulley that I've had. And the test, it's not necessarily to prove one pulley better or another. It's really to see, can I get the ramp a little bit more aggressive to follow the torque curve. So generally with or PD blowers, you're going to have your belt slip issues, just indicative of any type of belt style supercharger. And what I'm looking for is to kind of get a little bit more boost earlier and see if that's what's going on, seeing if I have a little bit of boost belt slip on the initial hit. So it's just going to be a simple test, swap a pulley, do 2 back-to-back dynos, same dyno, same day, that type of thing, and just see. The other important thing to do is when you're kind of messing with that type of stuff, you need to make sure that the tune isn't going to go lean with the little change, right? If you see a bunch of pounds of boost, it's going to be a little bit more than the wide bands can handle. The next paper that I included in the video was the breakdown by 100 RPM increments. So when you're going to the Dynojet or Dynomite or whatever, it's super important if your dyno runner can actually print off a graph that shows you all the data. And that gives you a breakdown of where your RPM is, where your power is, and your boost by 100 RPM increments, so you can kind of see, okay, it's making 5, why did it make 6 pounds and then 5 pounds? So there's little increments that you can really fine tune and figure out issues with your vehicle. So in conclusion, so the car only made 570-ish on E85 with 9 pounds on a Coyote motor. So some people are going to be like, oh, that's low as shit. But the thing to think about is the dynos. So it's a Dynomite versus a Dynojet. The Dynojet with the smoothing 5 SAE is kind of the standard. The guy that did the dyno for me, he said that it reads low and asked me if that's okay. And I told him it's a tuning tool, right? A lot of people get tied up on the numbers. He did say that he had a customer with a GT500 that was unhappy with the dyno results and went to another dyno in the area that had a dyno jet, and it was a 17% difference. So he did 17% more than the dyno that we decided to do today. But I'm not interested in numbers really, only at the track. But it was a great tool and I learned a lot from it. So I plan on using them a lot because it's cheap and they're great to deal with. And they're up in Temecula. Papa Inn's Brothers Garage is the dyno. Great people if you want to check them out. They're local to Temecula, California. It was an easy drive and I really had a good time up there. I'm going to continue doing videos, hopefully get some in-car videos and kind of going over the car a little bit and little things that I've found and done to kind of make it better as a daily driver. It's definitely if you're planning on taking a Coyote Swap on, you are the developer. So you're no longer taking or buying a car from Ford or wherever, brand new. You're the one that's going to be developing most of the parts. Now, the aftermarkets came a long way in the last 8 years, thankfully. I mean, shout out to Power by the Hour, a lot of the tuners, Lund, Sean at AED. There's just so much support that there wasn't back in 2012. Like starting out, there was hardly anything. You had to basically run manual brakes, manual steering. It was really difficult trying to get a car to drive as a daily driver, but it's came a long way. I have a Power by the Hour bracket system on this car, a lot of Power by the Hour parts. Absolutely love it. It's fantastic. So if you are a Coyote Swap or fixing to do a Coyote Swap, check them out. What else? So with that, please like, share, and subscribe. This is new to me, so I'm trying to make the videos better. So please leave any comments, any way I can make this better. More content, go over stuff. I have a plethora of knowledge because I do all the work myself. I'm very big on going to the track and testing stuff. Unfortunately, due to this COVID-19 stuff, the tracks are not open yet in California, so it's very frustrating. But we're trying to organize track rentals and stuff like that to kind of try to get back to the track. The next video I do will more than likely be on the heat exchanger upgrade, and then kind of going over when I get the new parts in for the pulley stuff. We can kind of go over that, and I can introduce what we're doing to try to make the car have a little bit better boost down low. The peak boost, it didn't look like it was spinning, but I think there's a little bit left on the bone with this setup. It is a Gen 1, completely stock. I swapped out the oil pan, that was it, so it would fit better in the car. But it's completely stock. The only thing I've changed would be the 5W50 weight instead of 5W20, so I can run the supercharger combo. But it's completely stock, so it's with the Gen 1, 650, 700, you're kind of on borrowed time. So if you do the calculation, I'm kind of there, but with the different dynos and stuff. But realistically, E85, like I said, is a really great safety net as long as your car can support E85. Remember, it's 50% more fuel that you need to be able to support it when you're picking a fuel system. This fuel system is pretty basic. I did a lot of used parts and waiting, researching. It's ID1000s, return style, -6 lines, in-tank Deutschwerk 400 with a JMS voltage booster locked in at 14 volts so I don't burn up the Deutschwerk 400. Super important with single pumps. And it's done really good. It's very reliable. I used high quality AN lines that are low, low vapor, low emitting, and E85 compliant, and a stainless fuel filter. It's super important with the E85. Going forward, I'm going to go over those type of things inside the car, just kind of walking through exactly what I did. If you do have questions on Coyote Swaps, please let me know. I'd be happy to kind of tell you my experience and my opinion on things. It is my opinion, but I've had a lot of different combinations with this car. I've had just about every single intake on it, minus the Boss intake. I had stock intake, stock ported intake, Cobra Jet intake, stock 18 intake, ported 18 intake, and then now the TVS. So I have pretty good experience on what to expect on that type of things. Power-wise, how much money you're going to invest, how you can get it cheaper. But yeah, so first video, thank you for tuning in. And I really look forward to doing a lot more of these videos as time provides. I'm actually pretty busy with all this stuff going on. But thanks for tuning in, and remember to smash that like button. Thanks, guys.